किया मुस्तफ़ा ने, ना कंधों से अपने उतारा हसन है, ना कंधों से अपने उतारा हसन है, नबी की निगाहों का तारा हसन है, नबी की निगाहों का तारा हसन है, अली और ज़हरा का प्यारा हसन है, अली और ज़हरा का प्यारा हसन है। इबादत खुदा की करे मुस्तफ़ा सी, इबादत खुदा की करे मुस्तफ़ा सी, इबादत खुदा की करे मुस्तफ़ा सी, नबी सा लगे मुझको सारा हसन है, नबी सा लगे मुझको सारा हसन है, नबी की निगाहों का तारा हसन है, अली और ज़हरा का प्यारा हसन है, नबी की निगाहों का तारा हसन है। मिला नूर जिसको हबीबे खुदा से, मिला नूर जिसको हबीबे खुदा से, मिला नूर जिसको हबीबे खुदा से, चमकता हुआ वो सितारा हसन है, चमकता हुआ वो सितारा हसन है, नबी की निगाहों का तारा हसन है, अली और ज़हरा का प्यारा हसन है, अली और ज़हरा का प्यारा हसन है, नबी की निगाहों का तारा हसन है, नबी की निगाहों का तारा हसन है। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद।
सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद। हसन का नाम ज़माने को चैन देता है, इसी का नाम तख़य्युल को ज़ैन देता है। कोई भी चीज़ जो मांगो हुसैन सोयम से, हसन से ले के इजाज़त हुसैन देता है। वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है, जो नबी के लिए आईना है, हुस्न से भी जो पहले बना है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है। कोई अबतर कहे मुस्तफ़ा को, है जसारत ये किसकी ज़ुबां में, नस्ल ऐसी चली इस नबी की, अब हैं सादात सारे जहां में, जिसके दम से नबी बाप ठहरे, नस्ल सरवर की जो इब्तदा है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है। खुश है मखलूक रब की तमामी, पहना इसने जो ताजे इमामी, खुश है मखलूक रब की तमामी, इसने पहना जो ताजे इमामी, सैयदा को है देनी सलामी, करने आए मलक हैं गुलामी। कौन है जो अमीरे जहां है, ताज सब्ज़े कबा का मिला है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है। जिसकी सीरत मोहम्मद के जैसी, और सूरत में जो मुर्तज़ा है, जिसकी सीरत मोहम्मद के जैसी, और सूरत में जो मुर्तज़ा है, जिसको मादर मिली फातिमा सी, और नाना मिला मुस्तफ़ा है। फातिमा का है पहला सितारा, सबका जो दूसरा रहनुमा है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है, वो यकीनन वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है। आओ मस्जिद में चल कर तो देखें, अर्श उतरा हुआ एक तरफ है। आओ मस्जिद में चल कर तो देखें, अर्श उतरा हुआ एक तरफ है। पढ़ रहे हैं नमाजी नमाजें, नूर से भरपूर एक सफ है। 9 इमामों का शबीर मौला, जिस शहनशाह के पीछे खड़ा है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है, वो यकीनन हसन मुजतबा है। सलवात।
MashaAllah, nice recitation. Congratulations to all of you on this auspicious occasion and the household of Prophet on the Wiladat anniversary of Imam Hasan Mushtaba alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Without further ado, I request Sheikh Hasan to start his lecture with your loud salawat. Allahumma.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. I would like also in my turn to congratulate every single of you for the auspicious occasion of the birth anniversary of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, Kareem Ahl al-Bayt. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So the talk tonight is dedicated to Imam al-Mushtaba alayhi salam. I want to discuss one of the characteristics of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, that because of the special circumstances of his time was very vividly manifested in his lifestyle. This is a narration we have in Tuhaf al-Uqul from Ali alayhi salam. Imam alayhi salam says, وَلَا بُدَّ لِلْعَاقِلِ مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ. Any intellectual person, any rational person should have 3 characteristics. There are 3 characteristics that any person with intellect must have them. First, أن ينظر في شأنه, to understand his status, to understand his dignity, to make sure that he would maintain his dignity, understand his status as, for example, as a Muslim, as a human who can be who has the potential to be the successor of divinity, Khalifatullah, to know who he is, do not disgrace himself. That's first. And ينظر في شأنه. Second, ويحفظ لسانه. Every intellectual person must be able to control and watch his tongue. This is very important, because many people who lose path, many people who despite their good deeds they end up going to the hell, is because they weren't able to watch their tongue. This is the instrument with which we can reach the higher level of spirituality, and it is the same instrument that can get us to the lowest level of the hell. This is what the Prophet, peace be upon him, said to someone who asked him, Ya Rasulullah awsani, or the Prophet, please give me a piece of advice. And the Prophet said, ihfaz lisanak, watch your tongue. The guy needed more. Asked again, Ya Rasulullah awsani, give me a piece of advice. The Prophet alayhi salam repeated, watch your tongue, ihfaz lisanak. For the 3rd time he asked, he belittled the importance of this advice. Ya Rasulullah awsani. The Prophet responded for the 3rd time, ihfaz lisanak, watch your tongue, wayhaka, woe to you, don't you know? wayhaka wa hal yakubbu an-nas ala manakhirihim fi an-nar yawm al-qiyamah illa hasa'id alsanatihim. Don't you know that people, they fall down by their face to the hell? It's only because of what they gained by their tongue. It's their tongue that gets them there. So watch your tongue. So Ali alayhi salam says, any intellectual person, not only he must know his status, to not disgrace himself, he must also be able to watch his tongue. The 3rd characteristic, and that's the main point of my lecture tonight, وَيَعْرِفَ زَمَانَهُ. Any intellectual person should be able to know his time, to understand the time and the period in which he is living, what it requires, what are the circumstances, how should I act in this time differently than someone who lived a century before, someone who lived in a different country, different culture. And the life of Imam al-Mujtaba is a primary example of how the time can change the approach of faith, can change the way that we make decisions. Just compare the way that Ali alayhi salam and his 2 sons reacted to Muawiyah and his son Yazid. You look at the time of Ali alayhi salam, Ali didn't stand Muawiyah, waged a war to free the people from injustice of Muawiyah. Didn't even let Muawiyah to remain in power for example, let's say for a few months so he can get some strength. No, Ali said, I do not let someone like him to rule Muslims even for one single day. Waged war, fought against Muawiyah. Then you come to Hussein alayhi salam. He didn't came along with Yazid. Hayhat min nadlillah. I will not accept that humiliation. مثلي لا يبايع مثل يزيد, and someone like me will not ever pledge allegiance to someone like Yazid. Then it's when we get confused. It comes to time of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, and Imam neither fights like his father with Muawiyah, nor he raises like Hussein alayhi salam, putting his line on the line, his life on the line. So standing against injustice with his blood. So why didn't Imam al-Hasan act that way? Was it the case that Imam al-Hussein was more courageous? Was it the case that maybe Ali alayhi salam was a better commander and not Hasan? Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam? But we know and we are told that they are same light, same nur. So why Imam Hasan reacted in a different way? Because his time was different than the time of Imam al-Hussein, than the time of Ali alayhi salam. What was different? Many points, but I just mentioned the most important one in each period. Imam al-Hasan's time was different from the time of his father, Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, because the people were different. The ones who supported Ali alayhi salam were different people than the ones who claimed to support Hasan. And this is what Imam alayhi salam told the people. He said, وَكُنْتُمْ في منتدبكم إلى الصفين ودينكم أمام دنياكم. When you were behind my father Ali in Siffin, you were the people for whom their deen had priority over their dunya, their material world. You were the people who were ready to sacrifice their material attachment for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, وَقَدْ أَصْبَحْتُمُ الْيَوْمِ وَدُنْيَاكُمْ أَمَامَ دِينِكُمْ. But you have turned upside down. Right now you are the people who would sacrifice their deen for their dunya. So Imam alayhi salam knew that these people are not the same people that would stand behind him if he waged a war. And he tried to do that. What happened? Even the commanders of his army betrayed him. Among them, some of his relatives. Muawiyah bribed them. And he betrayed him. Imam knew that these people cannot be trusted. He cannot fight with Muawiyah, with the people who are backstabbing him. And what could be the result? If Imam was waging a war against Muawiyah and people would turn their back, the only result was that Imam was getting killed, many companions, many Shias were getting killed, Muawiyah annihilating them. And Muawiyah was such a cunning person that could manipulate the public opinion to believe that it was Hasan's fault, and the Muawiyah followed the Sunnah of the Prophet. Muawiyah showed that to Ali alayhi salam when he sent someone to Ali when he was leading the army towards Safain. He said, go to Ali and tell him that I am coming with you with an army who performed Friday prayer behind me on the Wednesday. These are the people that I'm coming with them to you. They are blindly following me. Muawiyah was able to manipulate the public opinion of the people in Syria, in Sham, to the extent that there's reports saying that after Ali alayhi salam was killed, and they were informed that Ali was killed in a mosque, because they believed that Ali didn't pray. They questioned how Ali was killed in a mosque and he is not praying. Muawiyah was able to do that, and Imam alayhi salam knew who is the Muawiyah, and knew that any uprising against Muawiyah without the support of the people would just means the shedding the blood of the Shia in vain. So Imam sacrificed his reputation, and the decision that Hasan alayhi salam made, if not more difficult than the decision of Hussein alayhi salam, was not less difficult, because he sacrificed his reputation. He was the one got subjected by ignorant Shias and Muslims who insulted him. Ya Mudall al-Mu'mineen, or the one who led the believers astray, those so-called Shia. They attacked Imam. They wanted to kill Imam. Imam accepted the cost for the sake of protecting the Shia community. Why the time was different than the time of Yazid? Because Yazid was a different ruler. Yazid was not as able as Muawiyah to manipulate public mind. At the same time, he was violating rules in Islamic law publicly. So at least Muawiyah was keeping the appearance of faith. But Yazid didn't hesitate. A person who didn't hesitate even to burn Kaaba. A person who didn't hesitate even after his army conquered Medina, after the uprising of the people in Medina. He made halal for his army not only the wealth of the companions of the Prophet, not only their lives, but also their daughters and wives. He was such a person. And Hussein alayhi salam knew that such a person, there is no chance that you could go along with him. So Imam al-Mujtaba knew the time is different, knew the expectation is different, knew that to protect the Shia community, he has to, because the community are those unfaithful, those cowards who will not stand behind him. He has to protect the community with sacrificing his own reputation. And he did so. But he didn't neglect to guide the community. Those difficult decisions that we see, not only is the Imam al-Mujtaba at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, when the Prophet, peace be upon him, signed and accepted the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, some of the companions complained. So the report says that some companions are complaining, ما هذا بفتح لقد صدونا عن البيت وصد هدينا. What kind of peace treaty is that? The first year they were not allowed even to go for Hajj. They were not allowed to do their sacrifices. So some companions started criticizing Prophet. They couldn't see that what the Prophet did in the Treaty of Hudaybiyah guaranteed that immense victory a few years later, the conquest of Mecca. The short-sighted people couldn't see that. So what Imam alayhi salam did guaranteed the success of the uprising of Hussein alayhi salam. the uprising that up until today keeps Islam alive. And Hasan alayhi salam didn't neglect, although he had politically to sit down because of the betrayal of the people, but he didn't neglect to warn people. So we have in one of the lectures from Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam, and Imam alayhi salam says, وَعْلَمُوا عِلْمًا يَقِينًا أَنَّكُمْ لَن تَعْرِفُوا التُّقَى حَتَّى تَعْرِفُوا صِفَةَ الْهُدَى. Be sure that you cannot understand what is taqwa, what is piety, unless you know what are the characteristics of guidance, of huda. وَلَن تَمَسَّكُوا بِمِيثَاقِ الْكِتَابِ حَتَّى تَعْرِفُوا الَّذِي نَبَذَهُ. You will not be able to follow Quran unless you know the ones who neglected Quran first. You only can know Quran if you see those people who betrayed Quran, if you can't distinguish them. وَلَن تَتْلُوَ الْكِتَابَ حَقَّ تِلَاوَتِهِ. You will not able to recite Quran as it deserves to be recited. حَتَّى تَعْرِفُ الَّذِي حَرَّفَهُ. Unless you know the people who try to deviate the message of Quran. So even if you recite Quran from the early morning until the midnight, and you don't realize and you can't see the people who try to manipulate the message of Quran, the people who left Quran, the people who betrayed Quran, the people who neglected Quran, you are doing nothing. First you have to see, you have to distinguish those hypocrites. You have to see, you have to have the insight to identify the people who are trying to use faith and deen to their own advantage. And Imam alayhi salam said, we are the ones who can help you. وَالْتَمِسُوا ذَلِكَ عِنْدَ أَهْلِهِ. This guidance, the people who know the path can help you. فإنهم خاصة نور يستضاء بهم وأئمة يقتدى بهم. These are the people, the light that you can follow, the leaders that can guide you. Do not go astray, not to left, not to right, as long as we Ahlul Bayt are among you. And then Imam alayhi salam continues, when you recite Quran, when you listen to the message of Allah, it is not enough to recite Quran for thawab. وَأَقِلُوهُ إِذَا سَمِعْتُمُوهُ أَقْلَ رِعَايَةٍ وَلَا تَأْقِلُوهُ أَقْلَ رِوَايَةٍ. Think, reflect on Quran, the reflection that leads to application, not the reflection that leads just to narration. It doesn't benefit if you recite Quran and just recite it for each other and tell about Quran, the message of Quran. Unless you practice it, unless you act upon it, it doesn't help you. فإن رواة الكتاب كثير ورعاته قليل والله المستعان. The ones who in appearance recite every day dozens verses of Quran, they are not few. Every Islamic center there are people who are reciting Quran, but they are the ones who apply those verses in their lives and act upon Quran. There are few. Imam didn't neglect to highlight, unless you know Muawiyah, unless you understand what Muawiyah did with your faith and what he's trying to do with you, unless you understand what Umayyad is trying to do with you, unless you understand the ones who are betraying the Sunnah of the Prophet, and they in appearance they do Salat al-Layl, they do Friday prayer, they do everything. Unless you know them, you cannot understand Quran. And Imam, his lifestyle showed people how to make decisions, change decisions, make those difficult decisions when the time asks for. Understanding our time. And we have to learn from Imam al-Mujtaba that. We have, right now, we have to understand those deviated thoughts, messages that are being propagated in the name of Islam. Unfortunately, they are not. They are so much circulated around. We cannot follow the message of Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam to know our time unless we know those people who try to deviate the message of Islam. Not only how it is being deviated, but who are the ones deviating it. And why they do that? Unless we are able to see the hypocrisy, the double standards in the media, and how they try to show us something and to hide from us other things, we will not be able to have the insight to see what's going on around us. It's not just enough to follow the trend. It's not just enough to follow whatever the media says. For us to have the ability to be independent in thinking, to be able sometimes to even swim against the tide if necessary, that matters. Because otherwise we will be just puppets played by the others for their own interest. Unless we know what we are doing. Unless we find insight in understanding faith, in understanding Quran, in understanding the school of Ahlul Bayt. So, and it's also very important, if we want to propagate, if we want to be representative of Shia, if we want to be representative of this faith, that matters. To understand our time, understand how this time calls for different measures that were not necessary 20 years ago. It's important. This is the famous quote from Ali alayhi salam. We have it, Ibn Abil Hadid mentions it in Nahj al-Balagha. The Ali alayhi salam says, لا تقصروا أولادكم على آدابكم فإنهم مخلوقون للزمان غير زمانكم. Do not force your children just to follow exactly the same customs that you had 10 years or 20 years ago. Because they are living a different time, which calls for different measures. Imam doesn't talk about these fundamental beliefs, talks about customs. The custom that, for example, let's say, for example, the matter of propagating for faith, like me, someone like me comes and lecture and talks. This way was working 10 years ago perfectly. But we are living in a time that we need other measures as well. Not every young person is interested in lecture necessarily. This is a time that there are other mediums around. This is a time that sometimes a powerful TV series, a powerful movie, sometimes a piece of art, sometimes even games, even the social media can be used for the purpose of propagating faith and helping our children, or be used just the other way around. For us to understand that it is not the same time as 20 years ago. So we have to understand what the time asks for, calls for. Sometimes having just some camps that our children go for a few days under supervision of some brothers and sisters. Go for camping in nature, for example, somewhere. But just to start establishing this friendship with each other, to know each other, to get the identity, to know themselves as Shia, to get proud of being a Shia. If you give them the identity, if you help them get the identity, shape the identity as a Shia, they will protect themselves, even if you are not around. But if I force them, I can only force them 1 day, 10 days, few months. I cannot be 24/7 with my child. So unless I make him, help him to analyze by himself, to find the truth by himself, to shape his identity and faithful identity by himself, forcing will not help. This is the verse of Quran, La ikraha fi din. You cannot force someone on the matter of faith. So this is the message that we can learn from Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. As members of a Shia community, as fathers, as parents, as brothers, as sisters, as mothers, to know the time, the community in which we are living, to be aware of those manipulations around us, how the media works, how the political system works. Make sure to get the insight, to go beyond the cover that they want to blind us by it. To go behind that cover, to see through it. And also to understand, if we want to help our community, if we want our generations to follow the path of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, we must learn from Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam that a new time requires new measures. We should find the ways in which we can find a way to communicate with our children in their language of time. It's not working if I, for example, ban using phones, ban using internet, ban using TV, ban using going there, ban going that. Sometimes it backfires, and I have so many examples of that. No. Letting our children to find the truth by themselves, to shape their identity, and then we are not anymore required to be next to them, watching them. They are watching themselves. And maybe there would be a day that they would help us enrich our faith even. They may go beyond us. So this is the message, and inshallah, I hope that we learn this from Ali alayhi salam, who said that this is a characteristic that believers, they needed. يَعْرِفُ زَمَانَهُ, to know his time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the blessing to benefit from the insights provided by Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, especially to learn from Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam how to be aware and mindful of our time, and to inshallah follow with insight, with understanding, the message of Quran, inshallah. Oh Allah, please hasten in the return of Imam of our time. Oh Allah, make us among the true followers of the school of Ahlul Bayt. Oh Allah, makes our children, our generations, among the ones that the heart of Imam al-As would be satisfied with them. Oh Allah, help the oppressed. Oh Allah, help the people of Palestine. Oh Allah, help those people who do not have anyone but like you in this month of Ramadan. Oh Allah, whoever calls you, whoever cries out for your help in the month of mercy and rahmah, oh Allah, please answer them with your mercy and your unlimited compassion, and shower them with your blessing. Please recite a salawat. Thank you.
متوجه زيارة अस्सलामु अलैका या नबी अल्लाह या रसूल अल्लाह बारसुल्लाह अस्सलामु अलैका साहिब सफ़ीना रहमतुल्लाह अलमीन ख़ातिबुन नबीन अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू अस्सलामु अलैका या अली अमीरुल मोमिनीन व क़ाइदुल ग़ुर्रल मुहज्जलीन व इमामुल मुत्तक़ीन अस्सलामु अलैका या फ़ातिमा ज़हरा सय्यदत निसाइल आलमीन अस्सलामु अलैका हसन मुज्तबा अस्सलामु अलैका हुसैन शहीद करबला अस्सलामु अलल हुसैन व अला अली इब्न हुसैन व अला औलादिल हुसैन व अला अस्हाबिल हुसैन अस्सलामु अलैकुम अइम्मतुल अली इब्न हुसैन ज़ैनुल आबिदीन व मुहम्मद इब्न अली अल बाक़िर व याक़ूब इब्न मुहम्मद अल सादिक़ व मूसा इब्न जाफ़र अल काज़िम व अली इब्न मूसा रज़ा मुहम्मद इब्न अली तक़ी अल जवाद व अली इब्न मुहम्मद हादी अल नक़ी हसन इब्न अली ज़की अस्करी अस्सलामु अलैका मौलाना साहिब अस्र व ज़मान अलमान 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 मिन फितनत ज़मान व शैतान अस्सलामु अलैका खलीफत रहमान या इमामना व इमाम अल-इंस वल जान अज्जल्लाहु ताला फ़रजक व सल्लल्लाहु ताला मख़रजक व ज़हूरक व जल्लना मिन अंसारिक व अवानिक वल मुस्तशदीन बैन यदैक अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आलि मुहम्मद व अज्जिल फ़रज।